I'm Shannon Thrasher, and this is 30-Second Tactics. Today, we're just going to go over some, I don't want to say common, possible interview questions. Whether you're watching this trying to get some tips just to start a career in law enforcement, or you're trying to switch departments or jobs or even positions within your department. Here's just some things I've learned over the years. Some people have, told me about their interviews, some interviews I've done, just some common sense stuff you might not think about. I know a lot of people get really nervous in an interview, and sometimes it's not a accurate portrayal of who they are and what their capabilities are, just because that's kind of a thing. It's, public speaking, interviews, stuff like that really get to people. So just a few thoughts on questions you might get and answers you might want to have already ready. One of the most common questions you're going to hear in job interviews, and I'm not saying any of these are good questions or bad questions, it just depends on the interviewer and what they're looking for. But, one of the first ones you're going to get is, what's your strong point? What are you best at? And most of these questions, I'm going to give you the same answer. Just be honest. Everybody's not the best guy in the world or the best cop in the world or the best candidate to be the cop in the world. And the interviewers are probably, especially on bigger departments where they're conducting more interviews, are going to be real tired of the same old answers. So be honest, but, be original. If your strong points are, ABC, then say they're ABC. Don't try to stretch it to, some things that aren't true. And then, of course, the follow-up to what's your strong point is always going to be what's your weak point. Now, guys will try to game this and be like, oh, my weak point is I care too much, or I'm a workaholic, and but, be honest. If you have points like, for example, and I'm not saying this is fair or unfair, but this is the reality. If you're not married and don't have kids, bring that up. Say, hey, I have a lot of free time. I'm available for overtime or be called in or whatever. If you are, if you, are married with kids, turn that into a positive. I have this experience, this is going to translate to calls. I understand where people are coming from when they're, whatever your circumstances is, turn it into a good answer and be honest about it. Now, when they asked what your weak point is, obviously nobody likes to admit their weaknesses, and you'd hate to think that you were being so honest about a weakness that it cost you a job. But let's be honest. If you have a weakness that really, truly would make you a bad candidate for the job, then you should be honest with yourself and not be applying for that job and go out in your life and improve that situation, whatever that situation may be. If your credit is absolutely trashed, and so the department is going to look at you as, a potential risk for accepting bribes or something like that, or just that it generally shows a lack of responsibility, then go out and fix your credit before you apply. Take those steps, whatever the case may be. One they used to ask a lot, and I don't know if they still do, is, you're driving down the street and you pull over a car for speeding, and you walk up to the car and it's your mother. Would you write her a ticket? Well, what they're trying to get at is, are you going to enforce the law evenly and fairly? Now, my thought to that has always been, well, no, of course I'm not going to write my mother a ticket, but it's not because mom's getting special treatment. It's because, the point of a ticket is to prevent or modify future behavior. You don't want that driver to speed. So you write them a speeding ticket to punish them for speeding and give them a motivation to not get another ticket. Personally, my mother, and probably your mother too, would be so embarrassed and mortified by getting pulled over for speeding that they're not going to speed anymore, at least for quite some time. And, a ticket's not going to make a difference for that. So, again, be honest with that. If you get that question, like I said, I'm not sure they even ask that one anymore. But if you get that question or a similar one, or I pull over the mayor or whatever, just be honest. Because if you say, yeah, everybody's going to jail, black and white, blah, 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 that's probably not what they're looking to hear either. Another standard question you're going to get is, why do you want to be in law enforcement? Or if you're already in law enforcement, why do you want to switch from your current department to this department? Be honest. If you're going from one job to another and the main reason you're changing is because the new job's $5 an hour more, be honest with them. They'll appreciate that. They understand. They work there. Everybody, the people that are interviewing you, you can make a few assumptions of. They work there. They've worked there long enough that they've got some rank and some time, and they're on an interview board. So they're probably pretty happy with that department. So they're not going to be surprised to hear that you want to come work on that department. But just be honest why. It might be something as simple as, this department's closer to my home. Or, I like this department's uniforms better. Whatever it is, be honest with them. It's not a trick question. Now, if you're starting, from a civilian and it's your first law enforcement job, and they ask you why you want to get into law enforcement, again, like I said, be honest. That answer is going to depend on you. They're probably tired of hearing, I just want to give back to my community. Even though that's a true answer. A lot of us feel that way. We want to serve our community, want to give back, want to make it a little better, but they hear that answer a lot. So maybe come up with something a little more original, a little more tuned to you specifically. You may have a story or an anecdote from your youth. Hey, when I was 10 years old, somebody stole my bike and the cops were really nice to me and give me a ride home and blah, 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 whatever. I'm just making up a story, whatever your story might be. If you have an actual story, incorporate it in your answer. Be original. Don't be the 10th guy they interview that day that says, I want to give back to my community and help people, which is a good answer. But again, it's going to be one that the interview board is probably tired of hearing. Another one you hear is, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Again, it depends on the job you're applying for. If you're already on the department and you're applying for sergeant, and most of the sergeants last about 5 years before they make lieutenant, then it's a perfectly reasonable answer to say, well, if I get this sergeant spot, I see myself putting in for lieutenant in 5 years. Or if you're brand new, well, I think 5 years from now, I'm going to be a completely different person with 5 years of experience as a police officer, and so I don't really know how to answer that question honestly now. I mean, any of those, just, the main thing with the interview is don't make the people conducting the interview feel like you're telling them what they want to hear or feel like you're trying to manipulate them. Just be honest. Another question you might get, whether you're new to the job or transferring between jobs or promotion in a job, is basically, what do you have to offer this department, or what do you have to offer this position? Or a variation of that is, why should we hire you instead of the guy we just interviewed or the guy we're about to interview? And again, going back to being honest, I'll tell anybody that asks me that is, I don't feel that I have to put someone else down to put myself up. I don't have to make someone else look bad to make myself look good. So if the contest is weightlifting or whatever, I'm not going to say, well, Joe can only lift 100 pounds. I'm going to word it, well, I can lift 110 pounds or whatever the circumstance is. Highlight your own qualities and abilities. Don't try to make yourself look good by making others look bad, I guess is what I'm saying with that. And another one that's kind of become more popular in interview questions, and I'm going to wrap up with this one because the video's getting a little long and you're getting a little bored of hearing me talk, is do you work best alone or as part of a team? Now, that's an awesome question for a law enforcement interview, but it's also kind of a trick question, and it's also a question that kind of both answers can be right. Because obviously, a police department is a teamwork kind of thing, not only within the department, you have to be a team player, but within the community. You don't want, departments don't want new hires that already have the us versus them mentality. You want to work with the community, not against it, as much as the community will allow. But so teamwork is important, but also you have to be strong working alone, because most departments across the country, you're going to be riding a single vehicle car. Now, there are some bigger departments that ride 2 men and stuff, 2 officer cars, but generally speaking, you're going to be working by yourself in patrol when you start out, and you're going to be driving around doing your thing, catching your calls, initiating traffic stops, the classic, self-starter. You have to be a self-starter. So I would answer that question if it was asked to me in pretty deep detail for those reasons, because I think there's a lot of reasons it's important for a law enforcement officer, either a new one or a veteran, to be very good working alone. And I think it's very important for them to be very good working as part of a team. So obviously that's not even scratching the surface of interview questions you might get or answers you might give to them. Again, just trying to help guys that maybe need just a little bit of clue or a little bit of, tell them just, hey, just relax, be honest. You're going to do awesome. I still believe this is a great career. I know there's a lot of different feelings around the country about, this is a bad time to be a cop or whatever. Personally, I think it's a great career, great field to work in. And if you're watching this video trying to get tips for interviews, I assume you think that too. So, take this for what it is. Use it. Do some other research. Go in and just totally rock those interviews and have an awesome career and retire and hug your grandbabies and all that comes with that. So, guys, that's what I have for you this time. As always, work, train, repeat. Stay safe.